And we are live, and welcome everyone back to the Sanctum Sanctorum. I, as always, am Widow's son, and with me today is TF. Not sure where StooDogg is today. Hopefully, he's feeling a lot better. He has the link to the show. Hopefully, he'll join us here in just a little while. And today is. I guess a small milestone for the channel because this is our 10th episode. 10 episodes.
Awesome.
Right? And this is the show's been going really, really well so far. The responses have been really, really huge. And thank you for everybody who's subscribed, got the notification bell on. Members of my Discord server and everything, those who tune in regularly. Once again, thank you enough. And I will do that. I will say that every week. So y'all may as well just go ahead and get used to that. And with me, as always, is one of the illustrious co-hosts, Mr. TF, who has informed me that he will be going through a persona change. I don't know if that's also going to include some type of physical change or not. If so, me and him may have to have a long talk about that, but that's beside the point. TF, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Start my hormone therapy soon.
For those of you who are just now tuning in and everything, it's a little joke.
Yes,
but
yes.
It's like, and it's like how dare you assume his gender? I suppose. But anyway, no. Today we're just going to be kicking back. We're just going to be talking about how everything's been going lately, everything that we've been seeing going on in the chaos that is the world that we live in nowadays. And here in just the next little bit, I have my Discord pulled up. And if you are, in fact, a member of the Discord, you may receive a link to come in and talk to us for just a little bit. Now, while we are just kind of getting going here, I do want to go ahead and give a shout out to Wanderer. Wanderer is actually in the midst of creating a avatar. Personalized avatar for me for the show and a banner for the channel's YouTube page. So I want to give a huge shout out to Wanderer. He's been sending me little screenshots here and there of how it's coming along. It looks so good right now. I can't wait for the finished product. And I'm actually going to be setting up a time to have Wanderer come on as a guest. So we have that to be looking forward to in the near future. Also, I'm going to have Cadenza come on probably next week. As a few of you know, and those who pay attention to the Discord server and his Discord server as well, I was actually on the Out of This World podcast last week. Had an absolute blast doing that, and that was so much fun. And I certainly hope to get the opportunity to do that again soon. But that's what we're going to have coming up in the next couple of weeks. And TF and I are actually in the midst of trying to figure out some other people to have come on and everything. And Wanderer is, in fact, here. I had a feeling you were in the shadows listening, sir. So kind of lurking around in the background, as it were. So yeah, that's what we're going to be working on coming up in a couple of weeks. Like I said, TF and I are throwing some ideas back and forth and seeing what we can come up with. But today is just going to be just kind of relaxed. just seeing what's been going on. So, um, one thing that so TF, you were telling me just a few minutes ago, you are actually going to uh, be changing your persona, as
Yes,
it were.
but that
So if you
that
want to go ahead, if
that's
you
as
want
much,
to, huh?
that's as much as I'm saying on it for right now.
Okay, okay. I was gonna say you don't want to give them a little juicy detail or anything.
Nope, nope. They don't get one.
They
It's
don't
gonna
get.
be a surprise.
Oh wow, you have so much respect for our audience.
I do, but I'm just saying I'm not going to give them a tease on it. I'm not a stripper.
Well, we don't know that. I mean, nobody knows what you do. Nobody really knows what you do when you're not doing the show with me.
It's true. That is very true.
I mean, you could be male prostituting for all we know, but of course, I mean, we all. I mean, of course, I know they're probably paying you to take it back. So
they're they're paying me to just stay home.
exactly, they find you and they're just like, "I will pay you $100 to not come over here."
And I'm like, I will take it because money is money.
Here's my PayPal information. Uh, but anyway, no, I mean, and wow, I mean, I was looking at that the other day. I'm like, we are, 10 shows deep already, and continuing to keep going, and it doesn't really seem like I started doing this all that long ago. To be honest with you, I kind of feel. I don't know if a sense of accomplishment would be the right term to use, really. Um,
I mean, well, it is a sense of accomplishment. I mean, I mean, you have accomplished something. You've hit a point of holding this pretty consistently, and it is something to be proud of because you know Joe Rogan's podcast. I'm not saying that we're anything like Joe Rogan, but when you look at his podcast or any of the others, they all have that first one.
yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I listen to Joe Rogan occasionally, or well, excuse me, I say watch it because I usually just wait till it comes up on YouTube, um, to where I can watch it. But there have just been like certain episodes that I've watched. His Steve-O episodes were really good. I enjoyed those. Um,
The Alex Jones episodes are the funniest bouts of insanity coming from a guest.
Honestly, I mean, I kind of figured like he's probably just sitting there and just going like, it's turning the freaking frogs gay just over and over and over again. Um,
Oh, dude,
it's
he
like somebody. I
basically
mean, it's like he blew a microchip in his brain, and like that's all he can. That and he's gonna eat his neighbor's ass when the zombie apocalypse happens or anything.
he basically just gave him the mic and let him turn loose on it. And it was like at one point, Alex Jones starts talking about how the elite believes in fourth dimensional child molesters. And you just see Joe Rogan like, what?
And Wanderer, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. He said, "In my eyes, anything like this show has become and started out as is brilliant. You've done a fantastic job. I really, really do appreciate that. Thank you so much." Um, let's see. Let's see. I've watched the Steve-O episodes. I've watched the Henry Rollins episodes, which those are a lot of fun. Actually, any interview that Henry Rollins does, or just him speaking in general, to me is really, really good. I mean, he's very intelligent. He's very, very cool. Um, I've wanted to see him do spoken word so many times over the years, and just I actually had an opportunity to do that one time several years ago, but the person I was actually supposed to go with um, ended up getting the flu at like the last minute, and they couldn't transfer will call tickets into my name. So I ended up not being able to go. And he was actually going to be in Memphis. He was going to be at the New Daisy doing a spoken word show, and I didn't get to catch it, and I really really wanted to. Um, so Wanderer's got. Let's see, what is he saying? Best Joe Rogan moment is when Alex Jones said he's retarded.
Oh, he is, but we're not discrediting that. But when you look at Alex Jones, though, man, he's just the most absurd thing. It's like some of the stuff that he said on the Joe Rogan podcast. There were some things he said that were interesting, but then there were some other things that he did that were just like, what the hell, man? Like he was like, Eddie Bravo showed up at one point and he's like, hey, Eddie, choke me out. I hadn't been choked out in a while. Somebody make me pass out. Choke me out. And Joe's going, no, stop. And he's like, all right, man, let me just get you in this rear naked choke. And he's like, yeah, choke me out. No, Eddie, don't do it. I mean, Joe Rogan's like the voice of reason. And normally he's like instigating people into stuff.
Do you think that Alex Jones is into erotic asphyxiation?
Alex Jones, probably. Joe Rogan, if he is, it's like, no, I don't think Joe Rogan is. I think Alex Jones is into whatever type of kink or deviancy he could find. Well, and I'm not just saying that just because it's out there. I'm saying that because he has legitimately done and said some things that are just like, this guy's a nutcase. And when you look at the situation that happened with his ex-wife, he used all of his resources to demonize her and make her look bad and get full custody of the kids. And granted, I don't know either one of them, and I don't know the case, but I do know what he actually admitted that what he does is an act for his show. And because his wife is trying to say that he's legitimately crazy.
Well, he is legitimately crazy.
Yeah, and he was like, well, I'm just doing that for my audience. It's just an act to keep them entertained.
The edits of Alex Jones where he's like, you're a liar and a fraud and charges at a Minecraft creeper. I'll have to see if I can find that.
YouTube has them all. I mean, there's like a greatest hits of Alex Jones. Another one, he's like, you know what? I eat meat because I'm a man.
That, honestly, if somebody would take that one little section and the South Park song, you're a man, now you're a man, the song I'm talking about?
Nuh-uh.
Okay, I'll have to send it to you. Yeah, they should piece that. They should definitely piece that together. But no, he is legitimately insane, and I've seen his Bohemian Grove video that he did. I've seen it in full, and it may still be up on YouTube. I know when I watched it, it was up on YouTube, but he didn't prove anything. Like you're basically like staring at the ground a majority of the time. Like basically like the camera that he had is like knee high. You can't really see anybody's face. Like they'll move it to like show you little things here and there.
They get very good at dance around at Bohemian Grove and sacrifice children.
Right, and then they get the whole cremation of care ceremony, and they still don't prove anything.
No, they don't.
Yeah, so I'm like, dude, just stop. You're not proving anything. You're just another loudmouth conspiracy theorist who has no proof of anything that you talk about, and the only words that you really know are Bohemian Grove and shadow government and Freemasons and Skull and Bones and listen to me. I'm always right because I'm Alex Jones. No, you're just an idiot.
Yeah, yeah, and he's like, and that's the interesting thing about a lot of conspiracy theorists. You know, there are a few things that they get right, and normally what happens is you're like, you normally do the type of reasoning where it's like, okay, this person is about 20% right, so how much of it, you would say, normally you would say, let me phrase this. Normally, you'd say somebody's 20% right. Okay, so I'm going to try to find someone who has a higher accuracy rating than that.
Right.
What conspiracy theorists do is, well, hey, this guy's stories have turned out to be 20% right. How much that's in that 80% is actually right? You know, what aren't they telling us? And it's really aggravating because every so often you get a story that backs up what they're saying. But it's like very rare. And then you look further into the circumstances and it's just like, dang it, why did they have to do this to give these guys more footing?
Well, I don't have an answer for that. I mean, to me, conspiracy theorists are to me they're when I hear the term conspiracy theorist, I always picture somebody who's hiding in their basement with a tinfoil hat on and the windows covered up, and they have one of those push pin boards covering one wall, and there's like string and pictures, and
They basically look like Charlie Day on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
right, and there's pictures of like Ronald Reagan with the horns on, with horns drawn on his head, and all this. It's just weird stuff. Let's see, what's this? What are your guys' opinions on conspiracies like on George Soros?
Yeah, George Soros is an interesting character. I mean, the guy, there is something to the fact that, I mean, he has made his millions off of increasing speculation around different currencies. So what he basically does is, so if you look at the exchange rate between, let's say, the peso and the American dollar.
Right.
When Widow and I were in grade school, the peso was about 1,000 pesos to $1. So what he would do in this case, so what someone would do in this case is, let's say you had $100. You would take that $100 and convert it to pesos. So now you have 100,000 pesos. Well, other people start seeing what you're doing, that you're getting this, and then others start buying up the peso as well. And what that does is that increases the value of the peso. So instead of the peso eventually trading at 1,000 pesos to $1, you could get it to trade at like 500 pesos to $1. So now you've doubled your investment.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to sell all the pesos I have. So you sell all the pesos and you've made $200. Well, then you would probably keep going, actually. So if you had 100,000 pesos, you would get to where they would be worth about 5 times that amount. So then you would just sell it all, and you made $400 off of your initial 100. Well, then other people start seeing that, and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to sell. Now's the time to sell. Well, then they start selling. Well, that causes the value of the peso to drop. And in some economies, that could cause a panic and eventually a recession, going to a depression, and then a complete collapse of the currency. And so that's one way that he made his money. And one of the things that I'd heard, and I can't verify this, so take this with a grain of salt, but people have accused him of collapsing economies single-handedly by doing that. I don't buy that he's collapsed economies. Now, he has, because for him to collapse an economy, it would be a lot. I mean, that would be huge. I mean, if you collapse the economy of a country like Lithuania, as small as that country is, there would be residual effects in its neighboring countries and in that part of Europe, and it would even affect Russia. It would affect Poland. It would affect all these other trade partners that they have. So if George Soros had actually collapsed economies single-handedly, there would be a lot of news stories on that, more than just a couple, and they would come from legit news sources. And he also, too, the other thing is he does support a lot of very left-wing policies. And he is part of some of these groups that the conspiracy theorists just, like, all of their cylinders, they start firing up on all cylinders. And he's, I think, a member of, like, the Bilderbergs, the Trilateral Commission, and Council on Foreign Relations, where he was at one point in one of those groups.
I think it was Bilderberg.
Yeah, and I talked to a guy. So I met a guy. We know a guy in our hometown. I know a guy in our hometown whose dad was on the Council of Foreign Relations. And I just kind of flippantly said, because I was kind of buying into conspiracy theories at the time, and I flippantly said, well, you know, when you get all these millionaires and billionaires in a room together, you know, you can't tell me that they're not plotting something. And he just, this is his exact words. He goes, that's bullshit. And I was like, what? And he said, okay, if you're a millionaire and a billionaire, he said, why are you going to try to hurt and cripple other guys, like pretty much the entire economy, just for a little bit of control? He said, no. He goes, I've actually sat in on those meetings, and those guys are just sitting there making deals back and forth, and they just simply did not want any media presence, and they wanted to be able to make their deals in peace and quiet, and that's what those groups are. And because the problem with a lot of conspiracy theories is there's no way to verify what they're saying. You just kind of have to take what they're saying at their word, and they usually show someone making a claim after an event has happened, but you never see anything happening prophetically. So for example, if they're like, well, their goal is to increase the gas prices and then collapse, and then just pull the rug out from under the gas companies, out from under OPEC. If you saw the gas prices increasing and then suddenly dropping, like it did in the early 2000s, that's when they release the videos after that. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is what's happening. But there's not a single person releasing the video beforehand saying, okay, this is what's going to happen. Watch this. You can't find it. All of their stuff comes after the fact. And they're like, see, we were right. It's like, no, Captain Hindsight, you weren't.
Captain Hindsight. Is he any relation to Captain Obvious?
They're cousins.
They're cousins. I was gonna say maybe like maybe like twins separated at birth, something like that.
They could be. Who knows?
Second cousin to Captain Truth, and first cousin to Captain Irrelevant, and the fourth cousin twice removed on the mom's side of Captain Superiority. So it's the I guess that's the captain's table, if you will. On Commander Conspiracy.
Yeah, it's like Captain Hindsight, Commander Conspiracy. Although Captain Hindsight in the Navy actually outranks Commander.
Oh, okay. And then there's Admiral Legitimacy, and we're getting way too into that.
Yeah, you are.
Hey, your face. But no, I mean, we have there's just so much, so many of these conspiracy theorists, and it all, to me, it really all, like, to me, like any conspiracy theorist, really, like, to me, like, Alex Jones is just their demigod. He's just like, and when I heard that everything to do with InfoWars had been taken down, I'm like, finally, there's one less place for these nut jobs to go. And
yeah. But it just kind of fueled them though more, because they sit there and they have a martyrs complex, and then you remove them and they get a further martyrs complex, because the people who are going to listen to them are going to listen to them no matter what the avenue is. They're going to find that access. And the fact that it makes it just a little bit harder makes it seem that much more truthful.
Right. Well, okay. Well, let's take a look at something a little more closer to home in the news these days. Let's, like, the whole white supremacy movement. Now,
Yeah.
I remember now me being completely anti-racist, completely anti-Nazism, all this. I still find it important to read up on what these guys are doing, because it's important to know who your enemy is.
Yeah.
And so I remember when I was first made aware of things of this nature, I would just stumble upon things online, especially when the internet was in its infancy. And I came across people like, groups basically like the National Alliance. And that's where I started hearing about like books and everything that were actually written by these people. And that's where I heard about books like the Turner Diaries. And then I heard about the White Aryan Resistance, or whatever in the hell it was called. And then the guy, Tom Metzger, I'm sure you've heard his name before.
Oh, yeah. They've had on several of those History Channel shows.
Oh, yeah. Now, to me, Tom Metzger is basically the Alex Jones of the white supremacy world. Like, those two are basically, they're philosophically, they're on different ends of the spectrum, but when it comes to being conspiracy theorists, they're like attached at the hip, in my opinion. Let's see, what is this? I used to watch InfoWars. I don't know why. I think I found it entertaining because, haha, funny Alex Jones. That was pretty much the only reason to watch it, was just to watch him flip out over absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Alex Jones looked like if he cut a loud fart, he'd jump 3 feet in the air. So,
dude, yeah, man. Did you ever watch any of those specials that they did? That they posted on YouTube for a while?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, dude. Oh, talk about entertaining. Like, because there was one, they were protesting, and you know how a lot of the types of protests that Alex Jones does, where they're like, we were just there peacefully protesting, and they're really harassing the police officers there.
Right.
And then they're like, or somebody goes, they're protesting somewhere in Washington, and then someone decides to try to climb the fence in front of the White House, and then that just ruins the whole thing, so they have to disperse the whole crowd at that point.
Gamey first said the frog thing was funny. Yes, it was. It was absolutely, it was comedy gold. The second that came out of his mouth, he immediately went from conspiracy theorist to stand-up comedian.
But, that's like the gateway into the insanity that is Alex Jones.
I thought it was funny when he was saying that he was going to eat his neighbor's ass. When the coronavirus started killing people. You know, he was just like, I'll eat my neighbor's ass to survive. I'm like, is your neighbor aware of this? I'm sure he is now, because he probably watches or listens to your show, and now he's not even going to make eye contact with you because he's afraid you're going to eat his ass.
Yeah, and it depends on what context you mean that.
Exactly. And you notice that Alex Jones didn't clarify. He was just like, I'll eat my neighbor's ass, you know, if I have to survive. Like, dude.
Yeah, and that's what Julia Roberts' character was doing in Pretty Woman, you know?
Right. No, what is like, if I were Alex Jones' neighbor, I would be absolutely terrified. But what I would do to just screw with him is every so often, like maybe like a couple of times a week, I would go, like, act like I was walking around, and I would just go and put a plastic knife and fork and small bottle of barbecue sauce in his mailbox and just leave it there. Just leave it there. And just like watch him just flip the hell out, because there is a random bottle of barbecue sauce and a plastic spoon and fork and a napkin in his mailbox.
Occasionally, you should like put in like
3 times a week.
You should occasionally put in like Cajun spices, just in case he was to go Cajun flavor that day.
Yeah, or like or like a small salt and pepper shakers that cost like $1.
Oh yeah, and dude, you could also put in a cookbook for rump roast.
No. What you do is you once a week you send him a package with no return address on it, and it's just like an assortment of, it's like an unopened bottle of barbecue sauce, an unopened bottle of ketchup, some Dijon mustard, and like a roll of paper towels, a paper plate, a knife, and a fork.
Yeah. Well, and you know
Wait, hang on. It says the neighbors need to sleep with both eyes open and buy some swords.
I would buy more than swords. I would buy a lot of guns because
no. Just buy a can of bear mace, because Alex Jones is about the size of a bear. So yeah, just hit him with that that foam bear mace that would then he would back off. But yeah, if I were one of his neighbors, man, I would I'd have to buy like steel enforced underwear or something like that. Like, just like stay the hell away from me, weirdo. Like, I mean, could you imagine like if his neighbor actually like watched his programming because he lived next to him, and then heard him say, I'll eat my neighbor's ass to survive, and then he's immediately like, oh no, honey, lock up the kids, we can't go outside anymore.
Yeah. Well, and what's really interesting when you look at these conspiracy theories like Alex Jones on that and all of these regards, you can easily just turn them on each other by going, what if Alex Jones is a government plant to throw us off the actual scent of the government? And that gets them going on a whole other rabbit trail. And there are now like conspiracy theorists who are actually saying that.
No. I think Alex Jones was born with that. I think he was just born with that stick up his ass, is what I think.
Well, the one that's even crazier than Alex Jones is David Icke. He's the one who believes that you've got lizard people who live in the center of the earth who control all world events.
In Alex Jones' United States of Thunderdome, Long Pig will be the reward given to the victors of the chainsaw duels. Okay. So if we're living in the United States of Thunderdome, where's Tina Turner right now?
She fled to France.
Oh well, Tina. Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
And I think the modern day Tina Turner would be Beyonce.
Oh
And I'm
God,
okay.
no.
I'm okay. She's still gorgeous.
Yeah, but I'm just.
Well, look. Here's another reason why I'm saying we can put Beyonce there. Her husband is a billionaire, so we know that the quality of weaponry used in the Thunderdome is going to be much better because it's going to be funded by $1 billion.
Well, yeah, well, that may be true, but at the same time, they're going to be Beyonce and Jay-Z are going to be one of those couples that are hiding in a bunker that is built under their house.
Oh, you mean like Donald Trump hid under the White House during the protests?
Bunker boy, bunker boy. I went down there for an inspection. No, you didn't. No, I started reading those. I started seeing those stories. He's like, I went down there for an inspection. No, you didn't. You went down there because you was scared and you was pooping your pants. Actually, I read a story, or no, it was something like apparently he's suing his niece for some reason. And his niece posted on Twitter that the reason that he had to make that emergency trip to the hospital recently was because he can't control his bowels anymore. And so now he's got shit coming out of both ends, apparently, according to what she said. And I'm like, well, I can see that happen. I can see that happening, as a matter of fact. Hey, what's up, GNM? What's going on? Let's see. And Jefferson's just got here. Let's see. Wanderer says, I will enter the Thunderdome with a bass guitar and large laser cannon. Go for it, my man. Just go for it. Here's a shout out to the Bunker Boys with AZ.
The Poop Man.
The Poop Man. Yeah, hang on. Let's see. Alex Jones Thunderdome will have radioactive barbecue to encourage beneficial mutations, and people will greet each other with kicks to the groin. That is great. That is great.
Yeah, thanks for the visual.
And hang on, let's see what do we got here. See, just like my dog is not hiding from thunderstorms, she's just checking the plumbing on the toilet.
Plumber dog.
Gay robot frog robo frog warrior. Wow. Everybody's on point today. I like this. Keep it up, everyone.
No, I feel like one thing I am looking forward to is if it looks like Biden is going to get the nomination officially, which I think is going to be a disaster for the Democrats. I think they should really just get a new nominee flat out. But they're going to stick with Biden, and the debates between Biden and Trump are going to be comedy gold.
Okay, wait a minute. I know exactly who should run against Donald Trump for this election. Who the president should be and his vice presidential pick. I know exactly who it should be.
Who?
Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan.
Oh gosh, yeah,
dude, I would vote. Man, I would vote for Ric Flair in a heartbeat. Just actually,
honestly, I want to see Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock get it.
The Rock. Okay, but see, there's a problem there because both of them were great mic workers back in the day. So it would all come down to it would have to come down to who could cut the better presidential promo, who got to be president and who got to be vice president. Now, of course, as we all know, Stone Cold Steve Austin, his campaign slogan would be, "And that's the bottom line," because Stone Cold said so. And as a matter of fact, I would love to hear the State of the Union address ended with that. That would be great. But I would also like to hear The Rock in the State of the Union with, "If you smell what The Rock is cooking." Wait a minute. Hang on. Jefferson says the reanimated corpse of the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, keeps on climbing. Yeah. Thank God. Hang on. All right, let's see. Thank God you didn't say Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson. Hillary be like, "America is great because America is good." Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Shut up, man. I could honestly, okay, if The Rock were the president, this is what he would do. He would walk into, say, a UN meeting, okay? You walk into a UN meeting and he doesn't know someone, he would look at them and be like, "What's your name?" They'd start to tell him, "It doesn't matter what your name is." Hit him with a spine buster and then just like, "All right, let's get to work." Okay. Yeah, either Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve, or The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, or the reanimated corpse of the Macho Man Randy Savage, but I don't know who his running mate could be. The Rock could win the presidency without a campaign.
Yeah, I mean, that you laugh at that, but honestly, I think at this point he could.
I do too, but see, at the same time, I mean, The Rock is actually a very genuine human being. Like, he is actually a very genuine person, and all of that,
Yeah.
because he actually cares. And honestly, if he ran and didn't campaign and just dropped the occasional promo like he did back in WWE, like, before a big match or something, if he just got on TV and maybe cut an hour-long promo and ended it, "If you smell what The Rock is cooking," I'd be like, "I'm sold. I'm sold."
Well, and he what was it? He's done, like, he's just one of those guys that, like, nobody can find fault with him. He is just like you said, just such a genuine good guy.
Right, he is a good guy, but I can find fault with him because being a wrestling fan, going way back, he was telling everybody, he's like, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. I'm back here, and I'm going to start wrestling again," and all this. He had like those 2 big matches with John Cena, and then he was gone. So I have a problem with the fact that he went back on his word with that.
I don't, because for one, he's making more money and doing movies, but also, I mean, pro wrestling takes a lot out of people. I mean, there's a reason why they have one of the earliest.
Imagine The Rock got president in 2016 and then got all those movies after. It would be like starring the president.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But then he would eventually turn. I mean, honestly, if that were in fact the case, he would in fact be President Camacho.
Yeah, I just watched Idiocracy last night.
For the first time?
No.
Oh, I was about to say.
Secretary of the Interior, not sure.
I was about to say, if you're just now watching that for the first time, we're going to have to really rethink our friendship.
My roommate and his fiance came over and we were talking about watching a movie, and he suggested us that we watch Idiocracy, and I was like, dude, I thought you said you wanted to watch something lighthearted, not a documentary.
Exactly. And now Mike Judge has actually come out and said, I didn't intend for this movie to become a documentary. And
Happened so fast.
And to any and all listening, if you have not seen this movie, please go and watch it. It is a comedy movie written by the creator of King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead. But this movie, while funny, will terrify you. I love horror movies, and Idiocracy is the funniest yet most terrifying piece of cinema that I have ever watched. And I have sat through Dead Alive, if that tells you anything. I have sat through Dead Alive on multiple occasions, and it didn't scare me half as bad as Idiocracy did. Carrot Top. GMN says Carrot Top. Haven't thought about that guy in a long time. I don't know if I could trust Carrot Top running for president. Maybe make him like the court jester, maybe, for the president.
Court jesters are supposed to be funny.
President Nacho Camacho might be a better president. Right now, I would agree with you. My wife's boyfriend won't let me watch scary movies. What the hell? Wanderer, what the hell, man? Like, they make me cover my eyes during the scary parts.
Because he'll wet the bed or something.
It's like the parents arguing and covering the child's ears so you can use profanity.
Yeah. You're an SHIT head.
Wait,
Mom,
what?
I can spell.
I water my plants with soda, not fake juice. Plants crave electrolytes and caffeine.
Bronco.
So where Gamey Fur? Where are you buying? Shut the hell up. Where are you buying Brondo? Because I want to buy some because it has electrolytes. It's got what people crave, electrolytes.
Rondo, the thirst mutilator.
Why isn't anyone buying Brondo, the thirst mutilator? Gamey Fur, Mountain Dew gamer plan. Sit down, TF. It's got what plants crave.
Oh God. That was not Idiocracy.
It's good to see that people in the chat have actually seen this movie. So
yeah, it's one of those that it should, like, the moment a child is born, they should just be given a copy of the movie.
No, I think that when a kid is in high school, once he reaches the age of 16, they should show that movie in public schools. They really should. Like, they should gather everyone in the gym or the auditorium, and they should make them watch that movie.
Right.
Are you still there? Because you're okay.
So just something I just found out. In case anybody's interested in this, tonight is summer solstice.
Oh, that's right. Happy solstice, everyone.
Yeah, and apparently they are celebrating it at Stonehenge, and I could only think of that song from Spinal Tap.
Civics class lesson 1, Idiocracy. Civics class lesson 2, Robert E. Lee was a monster.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Did you see that protesters tore down a statue of Albert Pike and set it on fire?
I did not.
Yes, in Washington, and it wasn't even a Civil War statue. It was a Masonic statue that had been put in place, and he was dressed in just civilian clothes and was actually holding a copy of Morals and Dogma, the book of the Scottish Rite, and they tore it down and set it on fire.
Wow. Yeah, they're like going on a. I mean, I'll be honest. Like a lot of those statues in the public square, like especially
Wanderer says I'm running to Stonehenge right now. Go for it, man. Go. You should totally go.
But I'm looking at it like, yeah, those Confederate, like I have no problem removing the Confederate statues, because even oddly enough, even Nathan Bedford Forrest and I think even Robert E. Lee, if I'm not mistaken, were against having statues put up honoring the Confederacy.
Yeah,
because the whole argument was, basically, we lost, our side lost. There is no need to, because they basically, I think even at the end of their lives, both men were like, slavery was a scourge on us. And granted, I'm not justifying by any means anything that they did prior to that or anything that they said prior in support of slavery, because slavery in general is an awful, awful thing. And
absolutely.
And I, as a Christian, look at it this way, that the basically the Roman Empire and and Byzantium had driven out slavery and had basically outlawed it not too long after the establishment of Christianity as the official religion in the Roman Empire. And it was more of Western secular governments that came back and were like, okay, well, hey, let's implement this and let's have slavery. And it was awful. It should never have happened. And it's, if these people who are claiming to be Christians were in support of slavery, they obviously didn't read the same book that I've read.
Oh yeah.
Because they want to point out, the passages of Scripture where, the Apostle Paul would say things like, slaves, obey your masters, masters, be good to your slaves. And, they try to point that out. But the ultimate goal, when you look at the writings that were not included in the Scripture, like the additional epistles and even the teachings of the church fathers, slavery was always considered abhorrent. And in fact, I think it's in the book of Philemon where the slave Onesiphorus was told he had escaped and fled, and he was sent back. But his owner, or I hate to say that because you can't truly own another person, but the slave master was a Christian himself. And the Apostle Paul basically was like, don't do anything to him. Don't punish him. And eventually that man Onesiphorus got his freedom and then became a bishop in the church. So there was just kind of this, like, okay, this is kind of the reality in which we exist, but this is, this shouldn't exist. However, this is the reality in which we live. So let's try to push towards a better existence and a better reality where all men and women are truly free.
Right. Jefferson says it may be more the case that Robert E. Lee didn't want monuments to the Civil War at all, not specifically ones dedicated to the Confederacy. His opinion was a little unclear.
See, and that's really interesting because every single Civil War monument, other than you don't really, when you go up north and you look at the battles that the North won, you don't really see statues that are dedicated to Yankee generals. You don't see like any of those dedicated to like Ulysses S. Grant at those battlefield sites, or you don't see, in Grant's circle at somewhere where there is a statue of Ulysses S. Grant riding a battle horse.
Right.
It's only the ones that you really see with Confederacy, which is, really odd. And I think, it's important for us to know our history and know the fullness of that history, like understand why, like, for Black people, Juneteenth is an important day. And it's an important day in our nation. And I totally support making Juneteenth a federal holiday. It should be.
Absolutely.
And then there's, what is it? Then you also understand all the causes that led to the war, to the Civil War, who the big players were, all the circumstances, what they even told the poor people who basically fought. Because in the Civil War, it was basically a bunch of poor people fighting a rich man's war.
Right.
And explain that, because if we don't know the full aspect of our history, we begin to lose what truly happened. And what also happened, what a lot of people don't realize, is after the Civil War, there are a lot of Confederate apologists who then went and started revising history and started spreading this rumor and this myth that it had nothing to do with slavery. The Civil War was all about states' rights. When you look at the letters of secession, every single declaration of secession mentioned slavery as a primary reason for seceding. The Confederacy, in order to be a member of the Confederate state, you had to affirm that slavery was justifiable, and you would support it as a state. So everything, people say it had nothing to do with slavery, it had everything to do with states' rights. That's bogus. It had everything to do with slavery. Slavery was the foundational reason for the secession and then for the Civil War.
Right. Jefferson says it makes sense that Pike's statue would get torn down since he was an officer in the Confederacy, but those same protesters tore down a statue of Grant too. Grant hated slavery. Now, while that is true, Jefferson, and I look at it, I'm not looking at it from a standpoint of the Confederacy. I'm looking at it from a standpoint of being a Freemason myself, and Albert Pike, regardless of what his stance on things was, I mean, of course, I never met the man, but whatever his stance on things was, I don't have to agree with him, but he is my brother. He is my lodge brother. And so I have to, in a way, I have to give him respect because he is my brother, but that doesn't mean that I agree with him, whether, him being in the Confederacy or not. I don't agree with that, but I still have to I'm looking. TF, would you say I'm just kind of looking at it objectively?
I think you're trying to be as objective as you can on it,
right?
Because anytime, it's very difficult for anybody to be truly objective on anything. Because what basically happens is, because I do the same thing. I try to divorce myself from how I feel about something and try to look at it objectively. But even then, too, I'm still kind of like, how much of this is really me trying to find something to stand up for it. And I think what you're saying is, there is a difference between Albert Pike's Civil War Confederacy statue and an Albert Pike Freemason statue.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um,
Those two things are
because,
those two things are completely separate from each other.
yeah,
Um,
and now what's really interesting, I looked it up. So Ulysses S. Grant, he is the only Civil War general from the North that has statues in his honor, but he's also the only one who became a president after the Civil War.
yes.
So a lot of his memorial, while it does focus on the Civil War, is also, hey, this guy was also the 18th president of the United States.
Well, see, they're attacking a lot of Civil War monuments. They even defaced a monument that was dedicated to an all-black regiment in the Civil War.
Yeah, weren't they made up? Wasn't that regiment the one that were made up of escaped slaves that made
Yes.
it up north, and then they were like, "Oh, we're going to go fight."
Right. I think that was the regiment that the movie Glory was made about.
Yeah, that's a great movie. That's
Yes.
like one of those movies. Like if I were a history teacher, there would be two movies I would make required viewing, and if it was U.S. history, we would watch Glory.
Oh, absolutely. And to anyone watching and anyone in the chat right now, if you have not seen the movie Glory, I highly recommend it. It's an excellent, excellent movie. Matthew Broderick,
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman. Do some Google foo, TF.
Yep.
But no, Jefferson. I get. Huh?
It's a 1989 film.
No, Jefferson, I get what you're saying, and I appreciate you and I do appreciate you saying that. And while I agree that the Confederacy statues and everything were coming down, the particular one that they tore down had nothing to do with the Civil War. Like I said, that was a Masonic statue, and so it. Hang on a second. See, it looks like the Masons paid to put up the monument, but members of the United Daughters of the Confederacy would hold ceremonies at the site on Pike's birthday. The statues associated with them.
Wow. Yeah, that right there is kind of where the issue then begins to get conflated, because people are like, they look at someone like Albert Pike and go, yeah, and I agree, Jefferson. That's probably why it was targeted. So, and it's kind of unfortunate, because it's like the Daughters of the Confederacy were the ones who were doing stuff in front of the Freemason statue, and I think it was poor foresight on the Freemasons' part to not say, hey, look, do not do your Daughters of the Confederacy stuff here. This is a Freemason thing. We do not want to conflate the two issues.
Exactly.
And because it's I mean, there were a lot of contributions the man did make to Freemasonry, and you're much more familiar with them than I am.
Yes.
And but I mean, it's like his writings on Freemasonry, if I'm not mistaken, are used in every lodge, at least in this country.
Well, no, he was the founder of the Scottish Rite, which is up to the 32nd degree. Hang on a second. Which is up to the 32nd and the 33rd degree in Freemasonry. He was also the author of Morals and Dogma. He made a humongous contribution to Freemasonry as a whole, and he established the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite Southern jurisdiction, which every country has the Scottish Rite. And in America, we have the Southern jurisdiction, the Northern jurisdiction, and in different jurisdictions all over the country. But the Southern jurisdiction is mother. Like, it is like nothing goes on in the Scottish Rite without the Southern jurisdiction say so. Like, that is where it is based out of. And just because it's the Southern jurisdiction has absolutely nothing to do with the Confederacy. That is strictly a fraternity standpoint. Like that's what really kind of pissed me off about them tearing that monument down. It's just like you didn't even bother to find out what this particular monument's purpose was. You just saw the fact that this was somebody associated with the Confederacy, and so you just decided to tear it down. You know, and it's like I was saying earlier, them. Hang on, hang on. I'm getting a little bit behind here. Let's see. The United Daughters of the Confederacy made it seem more like a Confederate statue, less a Mason one.
Yeah, and I think that's a true tragedy.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, because let's look at it this way. You know, what if the guy?
Hang on before you go on. Said, "Wow, Daughters of Confederacy, is there a Sons of Confederacy too? Been living on Mars?" Says, "No, it's a sexist organization. They were a group founded to spread the idea of the lost cause of the Confederacy."
Yeah, and that's the revisionist history that was going on. They were the ones who were going around saying, "Oh, it was just really about states' rights," and it wasn't. It was about basically to justify slavery. That's what the Civil War was.
Right, but now to answer your question, GNM, there is a group called Sons of Confederate Veterans. Their real purpose, I have no idea what it is. It's just another one of these fringe groups that, you know, they have actually been named, and I think the Daughters of the Confederacy have been too. They have both been named as basically, you know, hate groups, because that's essentially what they are. Because they're backing. They're basically, I guess you could say, like neo-Confederacy groups. If I guess wouldn't you say that'd be the correct terminology?
Yeah, they're. It's I don't know if neo-Confederate be right or they're just.
Well, no, I mean, I've seen the term neo-Confederate. Do your Google foo.
Okay. Man, I totally pulled a Donald Trump and put neo-Confederate. Neo-Confederate or Southern nationalists are groups and individuals who portray Confederate States of America and its actions during the American Civil War in a positive light. Some neo-Confederate organizations, such as the League of the South, continue to advocate the cession of the former Confederate states.
The Daughters of the Confederacy and the Sons of Confederate Veterans would both be neo-Confederacy groups.
Yeah, and honestly, like my attitude on it is, like, I find slavery one of the most abhorrent scourges on our nation's history, and I think in order for us to truly learn from it, we should never, ever forget that we did that. We should always remember that this is a black eye on our nation's history, and we should constantly be reminded of it, because...
Look what Jefferson says. Yep, they help whitewash, pun intended, the etho-nationalist aspect of the Confederacy. Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, and it's abhorrent. I mean, there's right now, like here in Nashville, a guy on who has property that overlooks I-65, and so if you're headed north from like Franklin and Brentwood on I-65, right before you get to Concord Road, they have a huge statue on private property of Nathan Bedford Forrest with all the flags of the Confederate States. And there have been petitions to get rid of it. Well, the only reason why they cannot get rid of this, and a lot of people want it to, is it sits on private land. And as a result, the government can't do anything to get rid of it. And they have been wanting to. But it's a guy's own private property. Well, some people didn't quite like it. And what they did is they sneaked in, they trespassed and then painted Nathan Bedford Forest like this, like Pepto-Bismol pink. And so when you drive past it, it's pretty funny now, because when you drive past it, you just see this like Pepto-Bismol pink Nathan Bedford Forest riding a horse. And yeah, it's just I don't know. It's something that we should never forget. We should remember the horrors of it. We should always remember how bad it was. What
Hey, what's
happened?
up, K-Dog?
We should always remember how bad it was, and we should always remember how poorly treated African Americans were here. And there's a reason why too. We have to say African Americans as opposed to like Nigerian Americans or whatever, because unfortunately, when Africans were sold into slavery, they lost all identity and all heritage, so they don't know. So we have to generalize and say, oh, they came here. But when you look at like white Americans, we go, oh, well, we're either Scottish or Irish or English or something. We can specifically identify a specific part of Europe where we come from. And when you look at the way that black men and women were treated, I mean, we're talking like black men were castrated. Black women oftentimes were raped by their owners, and that was considered okay because it was, oh, it's your property. You can do with your property what you want. So you could actually take your property out and shoot one of your slaves in the head, and nobody would have done anything to you about it, because it's your property. It's no different than tearing up a chair of yours. But if you killed someone else's slave, then you would have hell to pay. Because now you haven't just affected, like, it's not like a piece of furniture in that case. It's now you have affected that person's means of income.
Right.
That has been, it's just, it is simply disgusting.
Right.
How people.
Well, looking here, G&M says, it's really been a learning time for me. Hated history in high school. Now I can't get enough. I actually just started reading up on Civil War. Can't hardly believe what I've been reading. Well, I'm going to put it to you like this, my dude. TF and I mean, we grew up in the South. We grew up in Mississippi, and Civil War
was everywhere.
Civil War history was everywhere. And as a kid, like, my dad used to take me to Civil War battlefields, and he would show me plaques about it, and monuments that were close to where we lived and stuff like that. And so I grew up knowing about the Civil War. I never agreed with the concept of slavery in any aspect. I've always thought that it's one of the most horrendous and evil things on the planet to have ever occurred. And so, we grew up with it like right there in our faces, like all the time.
Yeah.
Let's
well,
see.
And we also had to deal with people justifying it to us all the time.
Yes.
You and I had to consistently say, no, there was nothing right about this. It was like, our side deserved to lose at the very least. We deserved so much more than because of the way we treated Africans here, and in order to, and not only that, like, we had the Emancipation Proclamation, which took over 2 years to get there and granted, news didn't travel that slow back then, but it had to, because of the fact that the people who could have gotten it to them faster didn't want the freed slaves to know that they were freed. And then even after it got everywhere in the U.S., they were still slave owners trying to keep them enslaved.
Well, see, and it's I'm going to put it to you like this, and to everybody listening right now, no truer words were ever spoken. Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Let me say that again. Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Now, I say that to say this. They're tearing these monuments down. Some of them are being moved to different locations. In a way, it's like they are trying to completely erase and or whitewash, as Jefferson put it. They're trying to just completely do away with it, like it never happened. The way I see it is that the Civil War and the Confederacy and everything like that was a very, very, very dangerous and very sickening time in America's history. But it's something that still needs to be taught about, because it's important to know so it doesn't happen again. That's the important part about it. The parks and the battlefields and everything like that, those are very, very important to the history, to tell the story about what occurred, to keep it from happening again. And I think it's important for people to still learn from the past and the mistakes that were made. So I agree with people that are out there protesting more than I could say. They're out there protesting because they want a more peaceful country. They're sick of the racism. They're sick of the hatred. They're sick of the division that is being caused in this country by people who are now coming out of the woodwork, clearly being racist all these years, and we're just really, really good at hiding it until we got Bunker Boy in the White House, and now that gave them an excuse to show their true colors. Ladies and gentlemen, I, for one, don't want a repeat of history. No one does. We have to learn from the past to keep from having to repeat it. Always keep that in mind. And I'm going to step down off my soapbox.
Yeah, well, I'm going to climb up on one now. It's, when I look at so many people who support, not only support and endorse the idea that the Confederacy was right during the Civil War, completely abhorrent that anybody would try to find a way to justify it. And no matter how you cut it, there is no way to justify it. When you look at the woodcuts, like right now on my phone, I've looked at pictures and paintings and engravings they had from slave auctions. And you look at pictures of moms having children torn out of their arms, families being completely separated from each other. And afterwards, many of those families, they couldn't find each other. And so they were all starting over from scratch. And that's something most of us could never fathom, that, you are separated from your parents at a young age, at very formidable ages, and you will never see them again. Don't know what will happen to them. You look at the photos that they took after slavery was outlawed, and they wanted to document how bad it was. And then you see the scars people have on their backs and the ways that people were treated. And I'm not even going to identify them as Black Americans or African Americans at this point. I'm identifying them as people because they are people.
Exactly.
And that's where we are forgetting here that we have this humanity. And from my perspective of my Christian faith, that, the whole point of being an Orthodox Christian is that when Christ died and resurrected, he restored our humanity to its first created purity. And as a result, and that wasn't just people who have light complexion. That wasn't just people who are from Europe, because this all happened in the Middle East. This happened for all of humanity, regardless of skin tone or the way that your physical features are. And what a lot of people don't realize is, my white skin and one of my really good friends, Saran, his black skin, when you look at people from the Middle East and their skin color, all of that has one main thing right there. All of our skin tones and all of our physical features are there as adaptations from the environments in which they thrived. So when you look at people who are African and have very black skin, that black skin protects them from things like melanoma. The features of their nose makes it easier to transfer heat in and out of the air in and out of their lungs and dissipate heat. The fact that I have white skin allows me to create more vitamin D because of where my ancestry comes from. My ancestry comes from an area where during a great portion of the year, the earth was tilted away from the sun, and even when it was tilted towards the sun, we didn't get as much direct sunlight. So my white skin allows me to pick up more sun rays, which allows my body to create vitamin D that allows me to survive. My blue eyes give me better night vision. So, when you're living in a part of the world where you only have a few hours of daylight and the majority of your day is nighttime or dark, it allows me to see better at night, and the sunlight or the moonlight reflecting off the snow gives me better vision. But that's adaptation. However, you put me in sub-Saharan Africa, I'm looking like a lobster at the end of the day. Probably I'm having a much greater risk of melanoma, and it is much harder for me to survive in that environment than somebody who was raised in that. And same thing, like our skin tones and our physical features only serve one purpose, and that purpose is survival.
Well, scientists have proven that there is no genetic difference between the races. It's only skin deep.
Oh yeah, true. Because, and again, and when you look at like the environment that we are all born in affects how it affects how what genes are expressed sometimes. So, and that's called epigenetics. So what happens is if you're in an environment that requires, like, okay, these people need to produce more vitamin D, your chances of having a kid who's a ginger, if you have that gene, if you have a recessive gene, that actually goes up because your it knows, okay, I've got to produce the right DNA sequences that will cause the next generation to survive. So your body is not just concerned about your survival, it's concerned about the survival of the next generation and thus the whole human species. And so if you're in an area where, there's a lot more sunlight and yet you can't tan, guess what? You have a higher likelihood that your kids will be able to tan. I mean, my brother and sister can tan very well. I can't. My mom and dad can't. So normally you would be like, okay, well, two parents who can't tan, they should have majority children who shouldn't be able to tan. Yet that's not true. Both my brother and sister can tan, and they don't even need to have sunblock. So they have that advantage over me. But again, I have the advantage that if we have a few days that are overcast, I still have a high energy level. But again, it's just this, like you're saying, this is all, skin deep, literally. And there's nothing different between the way that we function. If you look at the skull, if you look at the skeleton of two people who have died, and they are, one's African American and one is of European descent. When you look and it's completely bones, you can't tell which one was which. You can't even tell beyond the muscles, or you're like, once you get past the skin, you can't tell. We are all human, and so for me, it's that realization that this idea of, like, quote unquote, what is it? Like, they're like, well, interracial relationships, because we grew up with that. We grew up with people being upset by interracial relationships. Like, people would get upset if they saw a white and a black person together. But how many of those guys who just were repulsed at the idea of a white and a black person dating had an Asian fetish? It's like, okay, guys, what the hell's going on? And it's like, and that's why, like, when you look, that's one of the things I'm so proud about the Greek Orthodox Church. One of the things that happened in light of all of this stuff that's happened even before George Floyd was killed, right at the beginning of the pandemic, the Greek Orthodox Church on an international level wrote a paper with all of the bishops coming together condemning white supremacy. And so for people to understand the significance of this, the way the Orthodox Church is set up, once the other churches start picking up on this, the other jurisdictions, and they assent to it and they subscribe to it, which they will, white supremacy will be further condemned by the entire Orthodox Church, which is huge, because in this country, they have actually had to excommunicate some white supremacists. There were people who came into the church and they started preaching white supremacy. And they weren't priests, by the way. They never once became clergy. But they basically hid their intentions, and a priest kind of jumped the gun bringing them into the church. And that led to the priest basically being frozen in his position and being moved to a different parish and being frozen where he is. He can't really get any more promotions. And then it led to those men being excommunicated. The guy's name is Matthew Heimbach, and he is a despicable individual. He comes across as nice, but like a lot of white supremacists, they come across as nice, but they're completely despicable and disgusting underneath. All deserve a good punch in the face.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of Matthew Heimbach, if I remember correctly, your good friend and mine, Mr. Genesis, was saying one time that apparently Matthew Heimbach was stalking him. He was being stalked by Nazis. So I'm like, oh God, what a fucking loser. But anyway, when you said his name, that just immediately made me think of that little tidbit of information. So I want to go ahead and make a point about our little program here. This show is 100 million% pure, unadulterated, where's the beef, anti-racism, anti-white supremacy, anti-KKK, anti-bigotry, anti-homophobic. we're anti-homophobia, all of that. I tell people, that's one of the things that I put in place on my Discord server is things like that are not welcome here. Racism, homophobia, sexism, things like that, they're not welcome.
No,
they're not welcome on my channel. They're not welcome on this show because if and that was one thing I was talking about when I was on Out of This World last week. Cadenza asked me where the name comes from. And in case I haven't really explained that in a previous episode, I'll go ahead and I'll explain that now. The words Sanctum Sanctorum stand for the Holy of Holies of a Jewish temple or a secret or private place. And that right there, this is a place where I want people to come in, have a good time, have a few laughs like we did today, talk about some serious issues, have commentary on serious issues, but all in all, have a good time, interact with each other, make some new friends. Somebody that's not been here before, all are welcome here. But you keep in mind that that drama, hatred, anything like that is not welcome here at all. This is a place where people can come to learn some, like GNM and Jefferson and all of them, like we were just talking about just a few minutes ago, learning some new things today. We can all learn something new every day. And that's one thing that TF and StooDogg and myself and StooDogg, if you're listening, buddy, just know that we love you, and we if you're still feeling sick and everything, get well soon. Come back and join us on the show. We really, really miss you. But and everybody, if you're and everybody who's still in the chat right now, if you will, just take a moment and post something, send StooDogg some love, let him know that let him know we're thinking about him, and let him know we miss him, and we want him back on the show as soon as he feels up to it. But this is well, I appreciate that, GNM. That's what I want for this channel, is to make a place for people to learn things and to have a good time and meet new people and interact with each other. And guests come out of this, and we bring people on. And I'm sorry if I haven't sent the link out to anybody today. We just got on this whole thing about everything going on nowadays, and I don't know if Stu is if he's still sick or not. I know that he was. The last time that I heard from him, he told me that he was still having a real bad headache and having trouble sleeping. So I'm not sure if that's still the case. I haven't heard from him anymore, but I try to send him a message, a couple of times a week to see if I hear from him, just to check on him, but I haven't heard anything. And so I just wanted to make that little announcement, that we're thinking about him, and that we want him to come back and join us on the show as our other co-host, and have some fun with us. And I appreciate your words again, GNM. But this is a place just for people to get away, because honestly, because I've shown over the course of the last several months, I've shown TF a lot of the drama that I've been. Hang on a second. He got a virus from the spam bots in the comments.
oh man!
In seriousness, I hope he's okay. I saw he was on Twitter not too long ago. Well, do thank you for that update. I still can't get back onto Twitter. I told a Trump supporter to go jump off a cliff and got banned. So,
Wait, banned as in like how long? Like
honestly,
permanently banned?
huh?
Like permanently banned?
I know my accounts were suspended, and I tried to appeal them, but they wouldn't. They wouldn't do anything, so I just let them go. Um, but the whole point is when people come in here, and it's like I was saying, I've shown TF a lot of the drama and people that I've come across by being a part of other channels communities like Sir Hatman and StooDogg um and guys like that. And when I finally decided that I was going to start doing this channel, I'm like, I want to make people aware about those subjects, but at the same time, I want what I'm doing to come, I want this to be a place for people just to learn things and to have fun and laugh. We have serious moments. We may have an entire show that's completely 100% serious. Um, but this is a private and secret place. This is a sacred place. This is where we come once a week and we have a good time. We share some stories. We talk about what's going on in the world. If we've got a guest coming on, we talk to them. We want to learn about them. We want to welcome them, into this little community that we're building here. We want to welcome them back anytime on the show, things like that. And I really just don't. I see. I like that about your show. The flow is smooth. Seems you're cool with whatever comes up. Thanks for StooDogg info, Wander. Absolutely. Well, that the show. That was one reason why I brought StooDogg and TF in, is because if you've seen any of the previous episodes where it would eventually just come down to the three of excuse me, the three of us talking, we just played really well off each other. And TF and I have known each other for God, what, 20 years?
I think 21.
Yeah, going yeah, going on 20 years or just over 20 years. And so I'm like, think of any I couldn't think of any two better people than TF and StooDogg to bring onto this show that I'm doing and have a good time with me doing it. But I will say, I will repeat my first statement. Hatred, drama, racism, sexism, violence, that's not welcome here. We can make, you know, half-ass jokes about, like, it's just like, man, I just want to, like, we all want to kick a Nazi in the balls. I mean, I know I do. But
Yeah.
you know, that's a joke in passing. But those things are not welcome here. This is a place where we can come and we can all gather together and have a good time. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, I still want to kick a Nazi in the balls.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like, just straight up, just, going back to Idiocracy. What's the show? Ow, my balls.
Yeah.
And people would just run up to that guy. It's like, I really love your show. And he's like, thanks a lot. And then they just haul off and kick him in the nuts. Just like, yeah, kind of like that. That's exactly what I want to do. Just like, hey, man, how's it going? Oh, it's going good. Boom! Just a swift kick right to the jewels, bro.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that somebody should create a show like Ow My Balls, and it's just people kicking white supremacists in the balls. That's what I think it should be.
Well, they've got that Instagram channel called Nutshots, so You could easily have a take on it like white supremacist nut shots, and it's just people hitting white supremacists in the nuts.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I'd be all for because those guys are a scourge on humanity.
Anybody that's in the chat right now, if you wanna kick a Nazi in the balls, hit the number 7. Ball assassin.
That's Wanderer's new nickname, Ball Assassin.
Yes, Wanderer, you should put that in parentheses next to your name, the Wanderer, aka Ball Assassin.
He's gonna assassinate some balls. He's the Ball Assassin.
Well, apparently no one wants to kick Nazis in the balls other than me and you. Oh wait, no, okay. Never mind.
Post that comment because I want this on the recording.
Okay, all right.
Ball Assassin. And then the one after that. He's like going like Super Saiyan. Oh man.
You know, Wanderer, I can make that happen. I can make that happen in the server. Just shoot me a message in on Discord, because after the show I'm actually going to play Magic with some friends for a little while. But just send me a message on Discord to remind me, and I will make that happen. Yes. Wanderer has been granted a new nickname, Ball Assassin. So he smashes the balls of Nazis in his way. Ball Assassin.
Yeah, it's
the kicker of white supremacist balls. Ball Assassin. Hey, that should be a Netflix show.
Ball Assassin.
Ball Assassin. Yeah. Wanderer, you should email Netflix and tell them you got a great idea for a Netflix series. It's just you and friends walking around kicking Nazis in the ball sack. Oh man.
No.
Hang on. Let's see. What is this? Levitating bandana wearing Godman in stealth suit, sniper rifle on the back with a massive boot on the end. His name, Ball Kicker, the Ball Assassin. I think anyone with a deep hatred for white supremacy and Nazism, along with a good sense of humor, would watch a show like that. I know I would. I would be that show's number one fan, actually.
Oh yeah, you and me both, man.
Like, I would actually try to figure out like how to join the crew just so I could like go around and kick people in the balls.
Well, and I think what's really interesting is
I've got such a cool idea for a second channel series now. Thank you. You're welcome. Hang on.
Well,
hang on.
What did you say?
Hang on. Gamey First said something here. It's like, I've never really gotten the race stuff. My view is pretty simple, though. That it is just an outlet for their hate of humans. Just like only preferring dogs or cats, also 7. There we go.
Well, speaking of dogs and cats, I
would totally contribute. I'm sorry, TF. And yes, I would totally contribute money to a channel that was all about kicking racists and white supremacists in the nutsack. I would totally donate to that channel.
Yeah, me too. Well, speaking of dogs and cats, I'm wanting to get a dog soon, but I kind of want to get a cat too, just because of the fact that it's going to be a while before I can get the dog that I want. So, but I do want to have a pet.
You should get a kitty. Just get one. Just get cats, man.
No, I love dogs, man. Dogs are awesome.
Well, I understand. I like dogs too, but you know what? I have 2 cats that are both, spoiled rotten princesses, and cats are the most chill animals on the planet.
Yeah, but dogs, I can roll around and wrestle with them and stuff. You can't wrestle with a cat.
Your hands can.
Yeah, it's not the full body exercise, though. I mean, at least with a dog, I can tackle the dog and roll him around, toss him, and he can come back.
You know what? Find a woman to wrestle with, okay?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have. But.
Well, I know that, but you're getting way too much into that dog wrestling idea. Find a woman to wrestle with and get a cat. Shut up.
Well, that's why I want to date a female pro wrestler. Like one of the really hot.
You can let her win.
Yes, I will let her win. Sure.
Just like, all right, I give up. It's like I didn't even do it. I know. I just give up.
like somebody dating Alexa Bliss or something. It's
just like, yeah, I don't care. You win. You win.
And but no, like the one thing I've really noticed. I was going back on this. One thing I've noticed is if you look at a lot of the people who are like some of the
Patreon's biggest channel by the end of the year, Wanderer's Ballbusters.
Kicking white princess in the nuts.
Wait a minute, hang on. Let's see, hang on, what is this? Wander Electric Guzzaloo presents Ball Assassin Episode 1, Social Distancing Force Kick.
Turd Ferguson is a simp. Well, if it's the right chick I'm dating and she's hot, I guess so. Whatever.
Yeah, but no, he's not a simpleton. He's not a simpleton. He acts like it sometimes, but now if we're talking about the other definition of that particular word that people think that it means, maybe.
What? See, I've not like. What is that? What, silly or foolish person? I mean, if that's what we're going with, then yes,
I changed my mind. TF is a loyal man.
Is a loyal man.
Yeah, he's a loyal man.
Well, I'm okay, y'all. I am lost on all of this. Where is this conversation going with me being a simp?
That is not for you to understand, sir. That is not for you to understand. Move along, sir.
Right now. I'm looking at Urban Dictionary right now.
He's doing Google Foo, you guys.
Someone who will say anything to please someone. Nope, that a particular girl. Nope, because friends can tell you, especially Widow over here, can tell you that if I have to choose to keep my mouth shut or say something and get the maximum amount of joke fodder from it, I am taking the latter option.
Yeah, see, you guys, TF suffers from this thing called lack of tact. Let's see, the conversation happened because my Fallout New Vegas disc is fucking...
No, not New Vegas. It's like the best game in the series. Well, the new Fallout 76, that was just atrocious. I saw a friend play it, and I was just like, oh, that's awful.
We got to get to the bottom of this. Yeah, but see, TF suffers from this thing called lack of tact. And I've been telling him for years that there are times and places to say things and do things, but it just goes in one ear and out the other. So finally, I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. It just doesn't matter.
No, like, what was it? What happened? There was that one time where I was just being like a really sarcastic ass one day when we were in at our college. And,
yeah. No.
I
think me and you went out for drinks one night, and you were doing that because I think we went to. Yeah, I think we went to B Dub and like we're just having a few pints, and you were just being a douche for some reason.
Remember when we cleared out B Dubs that night or that day after everybody got down to church, and we just started playing heavy metal, and they cleared out the Sunday crowd. We got free beers out of that.
You know what? It is official. TF is Dum Dum.
Dum Dum? What? Yeah. So
yeah, GNM says, I call that no filter. Love it.
This is the part where apparently we're dumping on me. Yeah. Okay, cool. I love
Yeah.
you guys.
See, no. Look. You are the co-host, and so therefore, this is kind of like you haven't been like fully initiated apparently. So this is your hazing and initiation by the listening audience today.
At least it's not like the frat houses where they have paddles and they're hitting me on the butt.
Well, hey man, what you do in your own private time is your business.
Yeah, I know. So no, there was that one time at our college where I was just being sarcastic, and this girl was like, she just got frustrated with it and said something to me. And my sarcasm was not even directed at her, but the moment she decided to chime in, that's when she got 100% of my attention. And I went, look, I am really terribly sorry that my sarcasm offends you, or I'm sorry if my sarcasm offends you, like I care anyway, you know. and that just set her off even more. And I was just like Palpatine in that moment, like, all right, your hate just fuels me.
Honestly, I think we should just do we should do a show in probably the next couple of weeks and just tell the misadventures of Widow and TF.
Oh God.
Oh God. Hang on. What is this? Widow's son guest host requirement. Thick skin.
That's a requirement to be his friend, period. But, in all fairness, I mean, I dish it out as much as I take it, too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like I said, he and I have known each other for, going on or over 20 years. And if we're not ripping on each other for some reason or another, I'll tell you guys a funny little story my dad told me one time. His best friend and my dad and his best friend, whenever they would talk to each other, especially on the phone, one of them would have to call the other one a son of a bitch. I don't know why.
Because it's a guy thing.
And one day, my dad called his best friend on the phone, and they were talking, and he said his best friend was just like, "Are you mad at me?" And my dad said, "No, why?" And he said, "Well, you didn't call me a son of a bitch." And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you son of a bitch. How you doing?" and so that's kind of like the friendship that TF and I have. If we're not like ripping on each other for something,
yeah,
there's either one of us is like upset about something or there's a problem.
Yeah, and it's the best way for y'all to understand it is imagine the kids from South Park growing up and becoming adults, and at some point it's like rotating which one we are. Neither one of us have gone full on Eric Cartman, but a couple of times both of us have become Kenny in a friendship, or almost.
Yeah, you know what? I think we're going to do that here, and so everybody, just kind of prepare yourselves. And in the next week or so, TF and I are going to do an entire show about the misadventures of Widow and TF, and we will share some of our greatest ventures out into public that we have, and the consequences, good or bad, of said misadventures. So, hang on, let's see. See, Widows, did you look into Old Painful? That whole beef started because he said some outlandish things about Cartman. No, but I will make, what?
Okay, someone's got to fill me in on that, because there's some problems I'm seeing with this. Who had a beef with someone saying anything negative about Eric Cartman? And two, because he is supposed to be the antagonist on that entire series.
Cartman is a modern day Archie Bunker. It's exactly what he is.
That they designed him to be that way.
Exactly. So yes, here in the next couple of weeks, everybody, I will let you know when that show's going to happen, but we will tell the misadventures of Widow and TF, and we may not tell all of them, and we may save that for like a segment on a not a weekly basis, but maybe like a bi-weekly basis or something like that. But yes, one show we will tell some of our misadventures. Oh no, it's very fucked up what he said. Hang on. Then people say, yeah, that's messed up. You shouldn't say that about anyone. And then he said they deserve awful things and stood by a statement. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to look into Old Painful tonight. When I get home from playing Magic. Yeah, I know that makes me really sound like a fucking nerd, but you know what? I don't give a shit.
You know what? Considering what's going on with the pandemic, that's probably the safest thing you can do right now is just go play Magic.
Just go play Magic and D&D and talk shit.
Yeah, dude, 4 or 5 bars in Nashville on Broadway, like the big tourist area, were shut down for about 5 days because they were violating the social distancing and CDC mandates. And
wait a minute, dude. There's the we were talking about Bunker Boy earlier. There's that big rally in Tulsa tonight.
Oh gosh, yeah. How many people are going to get the virus from that?
Natural selection. It's time for you to get on the clock. You're needed in Tulsa.
Yeah,
what is the story behind both of your profile pics? Well,
I can tell you his is pictures of schema monks from the Orthodox Church.
Well, they're actually not. That's actually a band from Romania that dress up like schema monks. But if you look at it really closely, the tri-bar crosses on them are inverted.
Oh, wow.
They're a band from Romania. I can't pronounce their name, so don't hate me for that. But the band is really, really like they're a black metal band, and they're actually really, really cool. Like he doesn't like the vocalist will do the screaming, but a lot of the vocal work is done in like traditional like hymn style chant kind of things, and he has other guys like singing with him and stuff like backup. But yeah, that's where my picture comes from, and I'll let
the name of the band is Batushka.
Do what?
The name of the band is Batushka.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, mine is just basically from the skits that they did on SNL, where it was a Celebrity Jeopardy, and Norm Macdonald was playing Burt Reynolds, and one of the things they did is changed his name to Turd Ferguson, just randomly in the middle of the game, and they're like, "Why'd you do that?" And he's like, "That's funny. Turd Ferguson's a funny name."
Yeah, and then he put on the cowboy hat.
Yeah, and Turd Ferguson in the 2016 election is the person I wrote in for president. I am not so. I did that because I really felt like I knew Tennessee was going to go for Donald Trump, and it went like 66% for him.
Right.
But I also too hated the way the Democrats treated Bernie Sanders. So I was like, I'm not giving Hillary my vote. I'm not going to reward the Democrats for bad behavior. So I wrote in Turd Ferguson because I was afraid if I wrote in Giant Douche or Turd Sandwich, the election officials had already programmed it to where like Turd Sandwich was going to go to Hillary Clinton and Giant Douche was going to go to Trump because of the South Park episodes. And so I just wrote in Turd Ferguson because I felt like an actual.
You should have written in Ric Flair.
Yeah, I think I might do that this election.
I think I might do that too. Well, guys, this has been another great and wonderful episode. And thank you all so much for everyone who has tuned in. Wanderer, thank you so much again for being here. GNM, thank you. Jefferson, everyone who has been in the chat having fun with us today. Once again, big shout out to Wanderer, who is working on a avatar and banner for the Sanctum Sanctorum channel, and for yours truly for a personal avatar for this platform. Excuse me. But hang on. I would have wrote in Dick Richardson of the Enclave.
Every day, people are.
What? This is not a time for you to try to watch porn, okay?
I was looking up that Matushka band.
Oh. But anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and we're going to call it. We're going to go ahead and call it today. But everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back next week, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK time. And everybody come back. We will be here and as a matter of fact, we may do the misadventures of Widow and TF next week. As a matter of fact, yes, I will go ahead and we will set that up right now. So episode 11 of Sanctum Sanctorum next Saturday is with You're being a moron again. Everyone keep the popcorn handy. TF being a moron again. Yep. He's trying to watch the porn. While the show's going on. So
okay, fine.
Yes, next week
we're doing a live concert. So take this, everyone. Here we go. Holy crap! They are.
I'm going to actually get in contact. I'm actually going to get in contact with Cadenza and see if he wants to come on next Saturday if he's available. So if he is available, we'll have Cadenza on next Saturday. If not, then we'll do the misadventures of Widow and TF. But let me get in contact with Cadenza and we'll go from there. So, but everybody, thank you once again for tuning into the Sanctum Sanctorum. And wait a minute. The Bald Assassin says that you're fired.
Oh, who's fired? Me?
You're fired.
I'm not fired. I'll come do a leg drop on you, buddy. I've been watching WrestleMania.
Well, you can't do that because Wanderer's the Ball Assassin, man. He'll take you out.
Well, then I'll just kick him.
Just kick him. All right, you guys. Well, once again, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. It has been always a lot of fun to see everybody here. And Gamey thank you for being here. Once again, GNM, Wanderer, Jefferson, everybody, thank you for coming in and having a good time with us today. And until next week, everyone, peace be with you.
And also with you.